Hello everyone, you're welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how I fixed my zipper on the dress I made in my last tutorial. Someone requested for this and here am I showing you. So as you can see, I've joined all the sides and ironed them properly. I used the red door face for the shawl. While drafting it, you decide whether to use a one fabric or mix the fabric. So that's what I did, and I've ironed them properly. There's the upper part. So the next thing for you to do now is to measure round the waist. Take the round measurement. That's what you use to cut your skirt, and I've cut out mine. So I've cut out mine and gathered mine. You can iron on that part. I secured it down. I secured that place down so that the only opening I'll be having will be at the back. So bringing my skirt part, which I've gathered to the waist to match the waist of that upper part. So as you can see, I've gathered my skirt, the fabric and the lining. This is what I'll be using. I gathered it exactly the waist measurement. So I'll go ahead and open that up and get the midpoint of the skirt part. I'll fold it into two to get the middle point, and I'll match the middle point of the skirt to the middle point of the upper body. So that is the midpoint. So on the upper bodies as well, I'm matching it up to get the midpoint, and when I get the midpoint I will match it together with the skirt part. So go ahead and join the two middle points together. So I will face them right side facing each other and pin them down, and I will pin from the middle point to the side seam. I'm pinning only the front part. I'm pinning it together, the lining and the fabric. I'm pinning it together to the side seam with the gathered skirt part. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm joining them together, and I'll be stopping at that side seam. I'll do the same thing to the other side. So you can see now I've joined it to that side and stopped at the side seam. So literally what I did was to just join the front part only, leaving aside the back part. The back part will be open. So I stopped at the side seam as well for the other part. So I will go ahead and stitch it down with half an inch seam allowance. As you can see, those sides are open. I have 3 pieces there, but on the middle part I'll be joining the 3 of them together on the middle part, but on both sides I'll be leaving them open like that. So I've gone ahead to join the front part. So this is how it looks. Only the fabric to the fabric is what I'm picking now. I'll open this up, leaving the lining aside, and I'll pick the remaining part of the gathered skirt part and join it with the back part of the fabric, and I will stitch and stop at that place that I stopped earlier, leaving the lining aside. The lining will not be joined together. So I'll do the same thing to this side. I'll open it up to separate the lining from the fabric, and I'll join it with the same half an inch seam allowance, and I will stop at that place I stopped earlier. So I've gone ahead to do that, and this is how it looks. So the fabric has been joined, the whole part of the fabric has been joined. So it's remaining the lining, and what I did on the fabric, on that fabric, is what exactly what I'll be doing on the lining as well. So just take a look at how neat it is. The whole front part has been joined despite it being divided into two while joining it. So I'll go ahead and pick up the lining as well and do exactly the same way I did on the skirt part. So I'll get the midpoint of the fabric on the lining and on the lining as well. So I'll go ahead and match the midpoints together, right side facing right side, lining to lining. The previous one was fabric to fabric, now is lining to lining, and I'll pin it down exactly how I pinned the fabric, and I'll sew to the seam line, that's the side part of the skirt, and I will leave the other, yes, I'll sew to that end and I'll leave the other parts open. So that's the side seam. I sewed the lining up to that part. I joined them together up to the parts of the side seam, and I stopped there. So I've sewn on it, and I'll go ahead to join the sides just like I did on the fabric. I'll join the sides. I'll join the sides to the sides. So I'll bring it up, I'll bring the lining up and join it to the skirt part, and stopped at that place I stitched. I stopped my stitches on the front part. So just watch closely to see what I'm doing. I'll stitch it down with 1/2 inch, and I also do that on the other side of the dress. So pin it down. It's a bit tricky, so you have to pin it down so it doesn't confuse you. So I'll go ahead and stitch that down. I've sewn them down, the sides of the lining, that's the side of the fabric. As you can see, that place is open, the side of the lining as well, and the side of the fabric. The only part that I joined the whole of them together is on the middle part. So this is how the inside looks like. The inside is neatly concealed, and this is the back. So we ended up having an opening at the back for our zipper, one for the lining and one for the fabric, and the other for the lining and the fabric as well. So we can now easily fix our zipper without it being joined like in the front part, on the front part. So this is a zipper foot. I would recommend you use a zipper foot. This is for domestic sewing machine, and the one I showed earlier was for blackhead machine. You can use any of them, but if you are good at fixing zipper without a zipper foot, just go ahead and fix it. So to fix our zipper, I'll be using an invisible zipper for this. I'll go ahead and match the waistline together and come down by 4 inches. When I come down by 4 inches, I'll stitch it down by 1 inch seam allowance. I'll stitch it down, and after stitching it down, I'll have the only opening from the place I stitched down upwards. That is where my zipper will come from. So this is the front of the zipper, and I'll face it down and place it on the zipper allowance. Make sure the zipper is coming out so that you can easily open and close it, and I'll pin it down on the zipper allowance that I left. I'll fix the zipper only on the fabric. As you can see, my lining is open, so I'm just fixing it on the fabric, and I'll pin it down to the point where I stitched down, and I will go to the other side and pin it down as well. So I've gone ahead to pin them down. I will take to my sewing machine to run stitches there. So from the outside, this is what it looks like. I've not run the stitches yet, but it's already looking closed. So I'll go ahead and stitch on them. So I've stitched on the zipper on both sides, and this is what it looks from the outside. You see how neat it's becoming. So the next thing for me to do now is to get my lining and cover that and conceal the rough edges up. So I'll get my lining and match the lining together like so. You bring it up and you match it together. I'll repeat it so that you get a clearer view. I'll open the lining up. You know, I stitched 3 inches down from the neck point so that I will have fixed the collar. So I'm now matching them up like so. When I match them up, I'll pin them down, and I'm only taking one side of the lining to one side of the fabric. So the zipper will be in between the lining and the fabric, and I'll pin them down and take to my sewing machine to sew them. So it's like matching the right side of the lining to the right side of the fabric, and I'll take it down. So if you are folding the edges, you have to fold it in here so that you hem it neatly. But I'm using the selvage of the cotton lining, so I will not be folding it. So I'll run a stitch there, a straight stitch. I'll use the line I fixed my zipper with to for a guide. I've run the stitch there, and this is how it is. I'll bring it out from the inside. This is one part of the zipper, and this is how it looks already. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did on the other side of the zipper. I'll bring it out properly and match the right side of that part to the right side of the fabric. I'll pin them down and take to my sewing machine to sew them up. You can close your zipper while sewing, or you can open it. So, but ensure that when you are sewing the second part, the head of the zipper should be outside, because if you sew it in, you cannot open the zipper. So you now pin it down and sew it like you did on the first part. So I'll take to my sewing machine and run a stitch on that. I've done that, and I'll bring it out as well like I did on the other part. I'll put my hand through that end and bring it out. So from the inside, this is how it looks already. This is how it looks, and from the outside, it's already looking beautiful. You can open and close. See what we have there. It's neatly concealed. So I'll go ahead, that zipper that is long, I'll cut it short so that I do not need the extra, except you are making for a taller child that it will take up to that the whole of the zipper. But this is a small child, so the opening is enough for me. So this is what the inside looks like, the whole of the inside, and the outside is looking beautiful as well. So in this one I used the Ankara because I felt the Ankara is also a spice too. You can use any fabric of your choice. The last one I used Duchess satin. This one I'm using Ankara with doll face satin for the shawl. So this is how the back looks. You can open and close, and the inside is neatly concealed as well with its collar. So please, if you watch up to this point, endeavor to give me a thumbs up, like, comment and subscribe to my channel please. Thank you and